Eze may well hold the key to this title race. He has started just 14 games this season, but against Spurs he proved that he solves Arteta's biggest tactical problem. All season Arsenal have felt that they are slightly off balance. Don't get me wrong, they've been incredible for large parts of this season, but they're not perfect and there is something they struggle with. They have a lot of focus on attacking down the right side of the attack, but really struggle to play through the middle. Look at this pass map against Wolves for the Arsenal midfield. Not a single one of them is trying to probe the Wolves penalty area from a central position. However, if we look at Eze's pass map alone against Spurs, you can now see loads of passes penetrating the Spurs box, and that's because Eze is willing to take the ball in central positions. He's a very different player to the rest of the Arsenal midfielders. For example, look at Odegaard's heat map last time he started compared to Eze's yesterday against Spurs. Eze very much playing through the middle and penetrating the opposition box. So why does that make Eze potentially vital to this title race? Well, because it allows Arsenal to be more threatening. We know that Bukayo Saka on the right wing is an incredible player and his link up with Timber or Ben White is absolutely fantastic. So when Arsenal can use these two down the right hand side, they cause a lot of threat, they cause loads of problems. But the opposition know that, and over time opposition managers and players begin to adapt. Eventually they might triple up or even get 4 players on you to try and slow you down. In those moments, what you have to be able to do is throw a different question at the opposition. You've got to show that you can threaten in behind or centrally through the middle or perhaps wide on the left hand side. Now I think we will all acknowledge whilst the left hand side has a lot of quality for Arsenal, it's nowhere near the level of the right side, so there is still a bit of a problem there. But Eze in the middle of the pitch certainly changes things because he brings a spark, he plays in a different way, he's very forward thinking. I think Odegaard is a great footballer, but I don't think he's someone to inject pure raw creativity into the final third. I don't think it's what he does. He likes to move the ball wider and play the safer pass to keep the ball ticking for his team, which is very useful, but not against low blocks. You need those players that can penetrate and you can hurt teams, and players that are direct. And Eze is fantastic at playing through the middle. And one of the reasons for that is his ability to receive with his back to goal. He's not scared of physicality in these moments. He's willing to get bumped. He's willing for a defender to come in strong because a lot of the time he's stronger, or he's just sharper. He moves the ball quick enough that he can sort of escape pressure in these moments. So that's sort of point one. Eze can receive centrally, which of course is the first important thing. If you want to play in central areas, you've got to be able to take the ball in that part of the pitch and look after it, and Eze can. But what I love and what I think really makes him a game changer for this Arsenal team in the title race is how keen he is to play in the middle of the pitch, to keep the ball in the middle of the pitch, to knit things together in the centre of the pitch, and then to create chances. I think Arsenal need that, because ultimately, I don't know if you've realised whilst watching football, but the goals are in the middle. You know, you can do all this work out wide, and yes, you can cross and things like that, but the goal ultimately is in the middle of the pitch. So if you can threaten in the middle of the pitch, if you can attack these central areas, you've got a greater angle, you've got a greater chance of scoring a goal if you can play in those positions. And I think Eze, every time he plays, shows that real intent to keep the ball central. He doesn't play the safe pass wide, which might help his pass possession pass completion numbers. You know, he might complete more passes if he played safer and he played wider, but he doesn't care about that. He's not here for stats and numbers completing his passes. He's here to make a difference on the biggest stage. That's why he moved to Arsenal Football Club. And I think every time he picks the ball up in the middle, he shows that he wants to make an impact in the middle. He doesn't play safe, he plays progressive. Now, I think this performance against Spurs was really impressive. Not the first time we have seen that. But there's some moments which really show how Eze thinks differently to a lot of the other Arsenal players. Here, Arsenal clearly have a lot of players out wide. And what a lot of teams would look to do here is use a sort of wide rondo. You've got 5 or 6 players in close proximity. Let's keep it tight, let's knit it together, let's pass and let's combine. So you might expect, as Eze receives this ball, to keep the ball this side. He could quite easily pop this ball back off to Bukayo Saka, and then you could play from there. But Eze doesn't want to. He opens his body up. He takes the ball on his back foot, and that means that he can progress centrally. And the reason why this is so important is because it stops Arsenal getting trapped. When you're in this position here, you've got loads of players, but you might get trapped down this side. Spurs have locked it off to one side. So what you need is players that can escape that. And Eze in this moment was exactly that. Also, here, the intention to play centrally, but also to play progressively. Eze receives the ball in the middle of the pitch and immediately is hit with pressure from behind. You would expect most players in this situation to be sensible, almost, to keep the ball for their team, to lay this ball off to Declan Rice, and we'll make sure that we keep the ball and we'll build the next attack. That is how most teams would think, and that's how most players would think. But not Eze. He's willing to take a risk, and he wants to keep the ball in the middle of the pitch, but he wants to keep the ball moving forward. And the result of that is that Trossard finds himself in a position with the ball, driving at the heart of the Spurs team, with most of the midfielders taken out of the game by Eze. That's why in a quick moment, he changes quite a dull moment here and quite a difficult pass to deal with to suddenly an amazing attacking opportunity. And he just continues to do it. Here, Eze in the half space receives the ball. His first thought is, can I get forward? Receives the ball on the back foot across his body so he can get on the half turn. And what that means is that when he picks the ball up and takes his second touch, he's looking forward. There's no thought of playing sideways, playing safe, being passive with the ball. He wants to get the ball forward. He wants to make an impact. He gets his head up, he looks for the forward pass, he finds it, and now Arsenal are in another good attacking position. Let's have another one. Bukayo Saka has the ball on the right wing. He moves the ball inside to Eze, who takes a risk. He takes a chance on the ball. He could, if he wanted to, he could have played safe. He could have come across to Declan Rice or to Trossard. He could have kept possession. But he doesn't want to. He wants to make something happen. Outside of the right boot, the slide ball, centrally. Again, let's go back to that pass map against Wolves. Not a single pass going into this part of the pitch. Eze completely changes that because he takes risks, but also because technically he is a phenomenal player. The pass is really good outside of the right, and Saka gets into a great position. Again, Eze receiving the ball centrally. He's not dropping out wide. Let's look at Odegaard's heat map from the last time that he started. Moving wide, away from the congested areas. Now let's look at Eze's heat map. In the middle, where the bodies are, because he's not afraid of those parts of the pitch. He receives this ball, and again, he receives that ball on the back foot. He takes his weight on the back foot because that means his first touch can be a progressive one. He gets his head up, he looks forward, and again, finds the slide pass to Trossard, who again is in a really good position. He can work this ball onto his right foot and have a shot at goal. And obviously, if we are talking about Eze being present in the middle of the pitch, the two goals sort of back it up. You don't get much more central than pretty much the penalty spot, scoring two very big goals in this game, but also in the title race. So why is all of this so important, and why does it change the landscape of the title race for Arsenal and also Manchester City? Well, because it's something different. It gives Arsenal a different way of playing. Teams for a long time now, I think, against Arteta have known that the best way to play against Arsenal is to try and contain them, because Arsenal are a very well coached team, aren't they? We can all see that. So what teams try and do, whether it's in a back five or a back four, whatever shape it may be, lots of teams like to try and get lots of players behind the ball and make it extremely compact. And Arteta, whether you see this as a criticism or not, is fine as fans, but Arteta is quite a cautious manager at times. He doesn't like his team to take loads of risks in the middle of the pitch. He doesn't like the ball to be lost there, because of course if you do, that's when there is that chance for the counter-attack. So I completely understand why, but sometimes there is a drawback, and that's that Arsenal become this team that just loop around the outside, and if your wingers can't go 1 versus 1, or the 2 versus 2s with the fullback don't quite work, you become a little bit toothless and you struggle to create chances. You struggle to work the ball into the box and actually have shots from good positions, which is why Arsenal have been so dependent on set pieces. Now, I think Arsenal's set pieces are great. They're very effective. They're very useful. So why not use them? But I think if you want to win the Premier League with Manchester City right down your neck, you need someone in the middle who can break a game. Because you know what stops a low block? Do you know what stops teams sitting so deep? When they need a goal. If you can score a goal out of nothing, out of whatever, I don't care how the goal is scored, immediately the opposition open up a little bit. They start to move players further forward because they literally need a goal to try and secure a point. So the game state immediately changes if you can go 1-0 up. But sometimes to go 1-0 up, you might need a set piece, or someone like Eze, who is a game breaker, who takes risks in the middle of the park, who has the technical quality to evade pressure and the passing ability, the vision to find someone and create a great opportunity for a goal. That is why Eze changes things, because he actually opens up the potential for teams to not be able to defend low in the block against Arsenal, and even if they do, Eze can unlock them. So basically, my message is if Arsenal want to win the Premier League, I think Eze has to feature much more than what he has done over the past few months. Of course, he needs to add more goals to his game. He needs more assists, but also he needs more time. He needs the opportunity in the team to find that flow. I think particularly for attacking players, you've got to have connections with your teammates. You've got to be on the wavelength with your teammate. And you only get that by playing football with each other in the Premier League. So Eze needs to do more, but he has to be given the opportunity to do it much more regularly. If he is, I think he can be the decider in this title race, because he makes Arsenal a very, very different team to play against. Teams in open play have just about started to figure out how Arsenal play, but if you add Eze in there, he's unpredictable. He is a game breaker, and he might just break this title race and take Arsenal all the way. Will he? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you make of Eze? Should he be playing more? And if so, where? Left wing or in the 10 in central midfield? Let me know what you think in the comments. But apart from that, we are now finished for today. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. Hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you in the next one.